This module critically explores the national, regional, and global policies and institutional mechanisms that shape the inclusion of gender and youth in the agricultural sector. It offers a comprehensive analysis of how frameworks, legal instruments, funding agencies, and strategic policies create either enabling environments or bottlenecks for young people and women to thrive in agriculture. The module further outlines best practices in policy formulation, implementation strategies, accountability mechanisms, and case studies from countries that have successfully integrated gender and youth issues into agricultural development. By the end of this module, you should be able to understand the policy landscape governing gender and youth in agriculture, identify key institutions and frameworks supporting inclusion, analyze the gaps in existing agricultural and development policies, evaluate country-level policy case studies and institutional interventions, recommend strategic policy reforms for inclusive agricultural transformation. Understanding policy and agricultural development policy in agriculture refers to the set of decisions, strategies, laws, regulations, and guidelines developed by governments and institutions to shape the behavior of agricultural stakeholders and to govern the development and transformation of the sector. For gender and youth, policies must address structural inequalities, recognize diverse needs, facilitate access to resources, create enabling institutional environments, promote empowerment, equity, and sustainability. Global frameworks guiding gender and youth in agriculture. Several international conventions and frameworks influence national-level policy decisions. The Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW. The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Peasants and Other People Working in Rural Areas, UNDROP. The Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, especially Goal 1, No Poverty, Goal 5, Gender Equality Goal 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth, Goal 13, Climate Action Goal 17, Partnerships or the Goals, the Maputo and Malabo Declarations, AU, commits African countries to allocate at least 10% of national budgets to agriculture and emphasizes youth and women inclusion. The FAO Gender Equality Policy, the African Youth Charter and Continental Framework on Youth and Agribusiness. National level policy instruments, examples from Nigeria, National Gender Policy in Agriculture, NGPA, promotes gender mainstreaming across all agricultural value chains, addresses structural barriers to land, credit, inputs, and education. National Youth and Agribusiness Strategy, NIAS, promotes youth empowerment through enterprise development, innovation, and digital agriculture. Nigeria's Agricultural Transformation Agenda, ATA, aims to improve productivity with youth and gender components. Land Use Act Review, debates around equitable land rights for women and youth. Anchor Borrowers Program, supports smallholder farmers with special interest groups. Key institutional players and support mechanisms, institution, role, FAO, capacity building, technical assistance, data on gender, youth, IFAD, youth-focused investments, gender equity in rural finance, UN women policy advocacy, gender-responsive budgeting, IITA/enable youth incubation for youth-led agribusinesses, AGRA grants for women, youth in agriculture, national ministries, agriculture, women affairs, youth, domestic policy formulation, monitoring and support, central banks' access to credit schemes targeted at youth/women agripreneurs, policy implementation challenges, poor data disaggregation. Gender-blind and age-neutral data affect policy precision. Bureaucratic delays, slow legislative processes, weak coordination. Lack of political will. Gender/youth issues often sidelined. Cultural barriers. Patriarchal traditions limit policy impact on women. Inadequate funding. Gender and youth-focused programs underfunded or mismanaged. Corruption. Diversion of resources from intended beneficiaries. Policy recommendations and strategic directions, gender and youth budgeting, mandated allocations to inclusive projects, affirmative policy actions, land quotas, reserved funding, subsidized inputs, inclusive policy design, participatory frameworks involving youth/women in policymaking, strengthened extension systems, deploying female/youth extension officers, policy harmonization, aligning agricultural, land, finance, and education policies, digital policy infrastructure, e-extension, mobile subsidies, digital IDs for beneficiaries. Case studies of effective policy inclusion. Rwanda. Gender mainstreaming law and Youth Connect program integrated into agriculture. Kenya. Youth agribusiness strategy and Women Enterprise Fund. Ghana. Affirmative action bill and planting for food and jobs. Initiative with youth/women targeting. Nigeria. Female targeted credit schemes under central bank and NGPA implementation in pilot states. Monitoring and evaluation, M&E, of inclusion. Robust monitoring ensures policy accountability and performance tracking, gender and youth scorecards, agricultural policy indexes, beneficiary feedback systems, use of ICT tools for data collection and visualization. Integrating climate resilience and digital policy, develop youth-led green agriculture programs. Ensure digital policy frameworks, accommodate rural connectivity for women. Promote climate-smart policy practices with gender-responsive risk reduction. Conclusion. Toward a just and inclusive policy ecosystem. A progressive agricultural sector cannot exist without robust, inclusive policy frameworks. The transformation of agriculture in Africa and beyond is contingent on gender equity in laws and implementation, youth empowerment through systems reform, political accountability and civic engagement, collaboration between governments, civil society, and development partners. Inclusive policies are not favors. They are necessities for national transformation, peace, and prosperity. And